This is going to be my reaction video to the Lions' 24-23 win over the Rams in wildcard round Sunday night. Late game. Forgive me for getting this one done late. I wanted to try to package as much information as possible in the data that I track. So definitely review the Lions' first and second possessions in visual form for you guys so you can see the plays. The first half offense from both teams really was unbelievable. The Lions were able to get leads of 14-3 and 21-10, but watching the Rams be able to move down the field twice and convert some of those difficult third downs, it was tough to sit there and feel comfortable, even when the defense had chances to get stops, and I thought they had at least 3 in the first half. They were unable to do so. The Lions were unable to get separation, even though the offense was unstoppable early, because they just couldn't cover Puka Nacua. And then that weird situation to end the second quarter where the refs clearly missed an offsides on the Rams. That I don't know how you miss it. Called a phantom false start on the Lions. Really, I think Jared Goff and those guys are going down there to add another touchdown. Maybe not another touchdown, another field goal. The Rams' defense is just not good. It's just not. They play this 5-1 look that, yeah, it's good for trying to create or get as many one-on-one opportunities for Aaron Donald as possible because the offensive line doesn't know who's going to blitz, and oftentimes they're dropping one of the outside linebackers out. Number one, the outside linebackers are really poor in coverage, and the Lions exploited that tonight, particularly to the boundary. If you look at the game-clinching first down to St. Brown preceding that 2 plays earlier, you have Montgomery into the boundary, juking an outside linebacker, I believe, and then getting a first down. The weakness of their defense is clear. They can't cover very well, and the Lions were able to exploit that all night, even on a night where I thought, even when Sam Laporta was in, he didn't look completely healthy to me. If the Lions aren't prevented from going and getting points there in that moment to end of the second quarter, I think they're able to get more separation. But as it stood, Lions took a 21-17 lead into halftime of a game where it looked like both defenses are playing a man down. I'm not sure if you're familiar with hockey or anything like that, but that's what it felt like in the first down. And then weirdly, the two offenses only combined for 9 points in the second half. A lot of symmetry there that I'll kind of get to later between Goff and Stafford and some of the things offensively they were all doing. I'm really not sure that you can say a whole lot great about the Lions defense overall, but they did get 2 stops in the second half. One to open the third quarter that was key, and then the one late fourth that was crucial. Also, much better defense in the red zone than they played in open space. The football field's a large field. It's a wide area to defend. And once they got in more, I'm not a huge fan of Collinsworth, to be honest with you. Normally I'm not, but he did get this right. He said in the tighter space, the Lions defense is able to deal better with the Rams wide receivers and their run threat at the same time. I thought that was a great point. Those 2 stops and the 2 red zone stops and holding the Rams to field goals, I should say, was the difference in the game because the Lions offense really went silent after halftime. Nonetheless, look, Goff was 22 of 27 for 277 yards, just sharp throughout. That huge completion to St. Brown with 2 minutes left. That's a great moment in our Lions Discord. We were texting and saying, we got to get the ball to St. Brown. Have to. He's the best player on your offense. Need to get the ball to St. Brown. He finished with 7 catches for 110. That was a big win against man coverage to close out the game. You may have thought I was being a little bit harsh, but I've seen this Rams defense twice this year against the Ravens in the regular season, against the Lions here. They don't cover well. They just don't. Their 5-1 look is really poor against the run when you run downhill and get at them. There's only one inside linebacker to combo up to. If you can win on the front side D-tack on the edge defender, you've got a huge lane there, and that's what happened on the first 2 possessions, I thought, for the Lions. It didn't finish with a huge amount of rushing yards today, to be honest with you. Early on, however, they were gashing the Rams, I thought, particularly to the tight end side, to the side where they created a 3-man surface. Talked about St. Brown winning that matchup. Everybody knew after that catch that the game was over, except the announcers. It was so weird. The professional announcers paid to talk about the game didn't realize, or maybe they didn't want to recognize that the game was over and the Lions had won. All they had to do was take a knee 3 times, and that was it. Defensively for the Lions, they just couldn't stop the Rams consistently at all. Rams rolled up 425 total yards. Stafford throws for 367 and 2 touchdowns. But the Rams' inability to score down there in the red zone on those 2 chances in the second half was huge. And then that big stop with about 4 minutes left. I thought the Rams were marching for the go-ahead score, either a field goal or a touchdown. And to me, what changed the dynamic of that possession is a 1st and 10 from the Lions' 40-yard line, and it's a pass by Stafford to the tight end Higbee, who's a good player. I hope he's okay. But Kirby Joseph made a huge hit low. The announcers tried to paint it as a hit that should be taken out of the game or something. That's bullshit. The reality is the quarterback put his player in that situation, in that position, with the throw. But nobody wants to talk about that because all people want to do is talk about how great quarterbacks are, and nobody wants to recognize sometimes they'll put their players in a defenseless position, and the defenders, where can Kirby Joseph hit him there? It was a great play. Unfortunately, it hurt Higbee. We're not here to hope that he's hurt. I hope the guy's okay. It certainly didn't look great. But that changed the tone of that sequence, I thought. That created a 2nd and 10 there. Kupp was able to get open over the middle for 6 yards, and look, on Kupp, he was protected by scheme and shield releases all game long. At least the guy that I watched here in this game and leading up to the game is not able to win in space. Not against NFL level, not against starting caliber NFL DBs. Maybe if he's got a backup in there or something like that, fine. But in any case, in this situation, he gets a 6-yard gain, set up a 3rd and 4, and then Hutchinson turned it on. He gets consecutive pressures that forced Stafford off his spot. And on that 3rd and 14, look, the Lions played man again after getting beat multiple times. Surprise, surprise, Stafford goes to Nacua. There's a lot of contact there between Sutton and Nacua, and then a hit, I think, by Anzalone on Nacua later. I trip off of people who you can tell who's an offense guy on social media. Well, Twitter, let me be specific. There's so many famous commentators or content creators maybe on Twitter talking about all of the contact on that play. That is the same type of contact that goes down on pretty much every play. And I do think it's worth noting that Sutton was wearing the same color gloves as the Rams jerseys, which is a common practice, so that the refs have difficulty discerning the difference between your gloves and the other team's jersey. Smart, if you ask me. That's why, one of our school went away from white on white at one time. We wanted to have 2 different colors, and we actually got jerseys that had a white jersey with like a blue stripe, a thick blue stripe down the side so the refs could maybe see it. That's a real dynamic. But in any case, look, that forced a punt with 4 minutes left, and everybody's going to focus on the St. Brown play that clinches the game. And it's a beautiful throw by Goff and a great win by St. Brown, an easy win. I mean, St. Brown could have 14 catches tonight. It's the same dynamic that I saw when the Ravens played the Rams. They're just not a really sound nor aggressive or great tackling defense. But the one play that I want to talk about is Montgomery in the right flats with 3:24 left. I think it's a 2nd and 7. It went for 11 yards. It's a quick throw by Goff into the flats. Montgomery makes a guy miss and powers his way past the first down marker. That play, to me, sets everything up for that drive to allow the Lions to close out the game and win 24-23. I thought it was a great game. It was a unique game. Only 8 possessions each. Very unusual dynamic in the NFL for it to be 24-23 and only 8 possessions each. Additionally, with how unstoppable the offenses were in the first half, it sure looked like a 37-35 game to me, gameplay-wise. And then you look up at the end, and you've got 4:20 left. The Rams are punting, and you're sitting there thinking all the Lions need is 1 first down. Well, 2, and this game is over. And sure enough, they closed it out. I thought Goff was in control much the same way that Stafford was. Both of them combined to shred the defenses in the first half. There's some eerie similarity between Goff and Stafford and the offenses tonight. I'll read out some of the stats, and you tell me if it strikes you as well. Both offenses ran exactly 55 plays. Both were on fire, clearly in the first half, and settled for field goals thereafter. I didn't think either run game could really seize control. Although they both had their moments, don't get me wrong. Montgomery finishes 14 carries for 57 yards. And Kyron Williams, the Rams running back, who I think got hurt and came back in and maybe got hurt again or re-aggravated an injury, had 61 yards on 13 carries. Pretty close, 14 for 57 and 13 for 61. Additionally, Puka Nacua puts up unbelievable numbers. I think 9 catches for 181. Maybe St. Brown's numbers don't stack up because 7 for 110 overall. But there's just some real similarities between the gameplay tonight that was striking to me. Talking about Nacua, he was the difference clearly all over the place. He had a 50-yard touchdown catch against Sutton in the first half on a 3rd and 1, where I thought Sutton did a really poor job kind of jumping the slightest movement by Nacua. Then on a 3rd and 10 in the fourth quarter, when the Rams drive down to cut their deficit to 24-23, Nacua converts that 3rd and 10 on a screen. A really physical runner after the catch. He had a 35-yard catch to beat man coverage again on an in cut on that same drive that I'm talking about when they went down and cut the deficit to 24-23. The Rams offense has some real tendencies, not just in terms of run-pass ratio when they're under center or in the shotgun. And I haven't added those up yet, by the way, so I can't really comment on them. But on certain motions, when Nacua motions all the way across and gets to the outside of the formation on the opposite side of the field, he's bringing his route back in on an in cut every time. It was like 7 out of 8 times. It wasn't targeted in every case. The Rams wide receivers were winning on that in cut all night long. And I didn't think the Lions defense did a great job adjusting at all, number one. Number two, I thought Lions safeties could have played more of a role in that route, particularly as it relates to the Rams' X-wide receivers on the backside. I thought there was 3 catches on in cuts from the backside where safeties are 6-8 yards off as the ball is caught. And I'm like, why is there so much space there? Really was the backside of formations. That in cut at 10, 12 yards, somewhere in that area, was over and over again, I thought. And look, Nacua did win some one-on-ones on other routes. Don't get me wrong. If you finish with 9 catches for 181 on only 10 targets, you did everything right. Atwell, the XY receiver who kind of lost his starting spot, I guess, to Demarcus Robinson, he beat Kendall Vildor for a first-half touchdown in man. But the guy that I thought looked diminished here, and maybe he's not healthy, you never know this time of year, was Cooper Kupp. Like I said earlier, everything was done to create space for him. His 3rd down conversion, or 4th down conversion, from just past midfield, I think in the second quarter, everything was done to create space for him. Motion across the formation. The Lions don't recognize it. Just throw it. It's easy. Like, it's just a shield release. The timing of the snap is such that he can go underneath of the receiver who's lined up to the boundary. Yes, Stafford could read it and he could throw it to the other receiver. It seems obvious to me that Kupp needs a lot of help getting open in these situations, and people aren't going to like that, but that's the film I saw leading up to this game, and that's what it looked like tonight. He had 5 catches on 27 targets, or 27 yards on 9 targets. It just doesn't look completely healthy to me, and that could have played a role tonight. If he's dealing with something that we don't know about, it wouldn't surprise me. Aiden Hutchinson, the defensive end outside linebacker for the Lions, credited with 2 sacks. I think one of them was Stafford trying to escape up the middle and sensed that Hutchinson, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I had the first possession showing. My apologies. Stafford kind of sensed that Hutchinson was there and went down or tried to escape up the middle, I should say. Hutchinson was able to kind of touch him, behind the line of scrimmage and get a sack. But I thought that Hutchinson was a consistent factor, especially late on that stop, as I mentioned. 2 pressures on consecutive plays with about 4 minutes, 4:30 left, something like that. He ended up with 5 quarterback hits, and that vicious one that I thought was clean in that sequence. He did not drive, 3rd quarter sequence, He did not drive Stafford to the ground. He didn't wrap him up and pile drive him. He didn't land on top of him. He made contact with him in a legal manner, and then Stafford's body torqued or twisted a little bit, and Aleem McNeil runs into it second. We've all seen the picture at this point. I wish people wouldn't publish some of those pictures. Stafford's kind of staring up at the lights, and people paint it as, well, he looks concussed. What's a still photo, first of all? Your eyes don't look normal in every snapshot. And second of all, Stafford was able to come back in the game and perform well. I think it's kind of like wishful thinking sometimes, people hoping that a starting quarterback or a really good player goes out for a series. I'm happy the Lions won the way they did. Stafford played the whole game. A physical situation there. He's able to come back and finish it after earlier in the game hitting his hand on Lee McNeil's helmet on a third down conversion pass to Demarcus Robinson. I thought Anzalone, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and Branch were active. They were in on a number of tackles, as you see on the stats that cycle through here. And look, credit to the Rams and Sean McVay. Their offensive system did what it does. It generated a number of 5 or 6 yard gains in the run game to create run-pass conflict in the defense, meaning the same platform, same formation they could throw from or run from. Again, I haven't added up the under center run-pass data yet. If anybody else has access to it, feel free to post it up in the comment section. In terms of the coverages the Lions were playing, there's not a whole lot they could do in certain situations. The Rams are creating space with compressed formations and then motioning people out or across, and they're kind of getting the matchup or controlling the matchup they want. You can't really dedicate 2 players from the bottom of the numbers to the sidelines in some of these situations where Demarcus Robinson or Puka Nacua or whoever is winning these one-on-ones. It's kind of the way it is. Your outside corners need to be able to win enough of those matchups to dissuade the quarterback from throwing the football out there. And right now, it's just a fact. Cam Sutton and Kendall Vildor are not winning enough of those matchups in a manner that prevents quarterbacks or dissuades them from throwing the ball out there. Now, on that 3rd and 14 with 4:20 left, in this case, Sutton did. I got no problem with people complaining about a hold or a grab, whatever. But the fact is the refs didn't call it. So let's get to the first half stuff. The Lions rolled the Rams defense in the first half. Rams offense rolled the Lions defense as well. This first possession I thought was pretty unique and pretty telling. I don't have the ball carrier listed on the first carry of the game. It was Montgomery, and it went for 10 yards. And then Montgomery for 6 on the third play. The 24-yard completion on the dig to Reynolds is a brilliant throw. And the funny thing about this is it's the 4th play of the game, 4th play down from the top for you guys, 24 yards to Reynolds. I didn't hear Collinsworth's voice at all before that completion, I should say. Now, maybe his mic was messed up. Who knows? Maybe he was talking and we just didn't hear him. I just thought it was awful interesting. There's a run by Montgomery, then Jameson Williams for 6 yards catch, another run for Montgomery for 6 yards. And then finally, after a pass play, Collinsworth starts talking. And maybe I'm hypersensitive to it because there's so many people that all they want to talk about is the pass game and all they want to talk about is pass coverage and pass rusher. And you see evidence right here on this first drive that the run game matters. A 7-yard run by Montgomery on the 5th play after that 24-yard catch. And then St. Brown converts on a 5-yard catch on a 2nd and 3. Laporta looked good early on, even in the brace. I did think that later on in the game, it seemed like he was off the field some more. Not sure what his snap count looked like, but this 2nd and 3 from the 10, I thought was a beautiful play. The run game had been working, and in fact, one of them was a toss. Basically gave the Rams the same formation. Fake toss, come back to the backside on a slant by Reynolds for 8 yards, almost got into the end zone. And then the second play from goal to go from the 1, Montgomery's able to power in. I thought it was a little bit of a disrespectful moment there. The Rams were able to stop it on the first play, the 1st and goal from the 2. Montgomery got 1 yard. Same personnel group, same formation, same exact run concept to the same spot, same point of attack. And this time, the Lions punched it in. I like stuff like that. I don't know about you. We say, all right, you stopped here. We're going to come right back to it, and we'll see if you stop it again. And in this case, the Rams were not. Of course, we know the Rams were able to go down and get a field goal, the key moment, even though it was early on in the game, because the Lions go down and score, like I said, get up 14-3, and then 21-10. All that's created because they got that stop on the first drive. Well, held them to a field goal, I should say. Gibbs was not as effective in the run game to me today. Now, he did have a good run, I thought, on the 4th play down from the top for you guys. It gets called back for a hold. For whatever reason, late, Ben Johnson seemed to be focused on running the ball with Gibbs on first down, and it just did not seem to be productive to me. But on this drive, the second possession, back in the first quarter, you do get Gibbs underneath, broke a tackle. I thought in the pass game, 2 pass plays in the first half, I thought he looked great. Then Reynolds for 33 yards on a quick throw, I thought, up the right side, if I remember correct. 1st and 20 after the hold, gets him down to the 10. and then Gibbs up the middle sheds guys on a run concept for 10 yards, or maybe it goes down as an 11-yarder. I'm not sure. Brutal stuff from the Lions early in terms of the run game and in terms of packaging together similar looking plays, run and pass concepts from the same formation. I do want to talk about the Lions' fourth down that they were trying to go for late in the second quarter, where the Rams clearly jumped off sides. And the left side of the Lions' offensive line was they moved to force the call by the refs. That's what you're supposed to do. Force the referee to call it. Oh, I moved because he jumped. And then to everyone's surprise, well, I guess maybe to no one's surprise, if you're a Lions fan who still remembers the Dallas situation, the refs called a false start. I could not believe it. I thought it was horrible. It looked like a phantom movement by an offensive lineman that if he does move, it's not the type of movement that causes the reaction by the Rams player to come across the line of scrimmage. It seemed obvious to me that it was because of the cadence and the motion, I think, by St. Brown. Stopped a drive that really, like I said, was at that moment, it looked like it was going to be a necessary touchdown for the Lions, because if you give the Rams the football back there, and maybe they go down and get a field goal, and they get the ball first just to start the third quarter, they can double up. Lions did not have any answers for the Rams pass game to that point. Had slowed down the Los Angeles run game significantly and got two opportunities to get stops. I was disappointed in Cam Sutton on that 50-yard touchdown to Nacua up the left sideline on a 3rd and 1. Rams' second possession. He just appears to jump the slightest move by Nacua, who instead took his route up the left sideline, wide open for a touchdown that was surprising because it was so easy. And at that point, I thought, man, they're multiple guys have been beating coverage just through 2 possessions. Like, what are you going to do? How can you leave guys out one-on-one in space? Earlier on that same possession, the 3rd and 16 that bridged the first and second quarter, Demarcus Robinson won against man on the right sideline. I think it was against Vildor, but I could be wrong. Look, it was a great throw by Stafford, don't get me wrong. That's the play where he hit his right hand, his throwing hand, on Lee McNeil's helmet on the pass, which went for a 19-yard gain to convert that 3rd and 16. The touchdown by Nacua there cut the Lions' lead to 14-10 in the second quarter. And there was a moment there where I thought, okay, at some point, Detroit or the Rams offense is going to stop scoring. Nope. The Lions converted. They did convert a tough 3rd down on their 3rd possession. St. Brown grabbed a pass to the left, towards the left sideline against man coverage, and just shrugged off the tackle attempt by the corner and then fought for more yards. He already had the line to gain, but to me, making the contested catch and then getting yards after the catch was an illustration that those guys just couldn't match up. The next play was a swing to Gibbs in the right flats. I thought it was a hurry-up, quick cadence, throw it out there to him. He juked one guy, broke another tackle for 17 yards, got near the 10, and then credit to Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson. This is the drive where they go for it on a 4th and 2. 3 unsuccessful runs by Montgomery. I thought the Lions went 13 personnel. I thought there was 3 tight ends on the field, and then shifted to a bunch right alignment. Goff kind of pumps for a second, and I wonder if he's doing that to hold someone. I haven't seen the end zone angle of that play. Maybe they showed it on the broadcast, but I don't remember it. He maybe not double pump, but he pumped one time with the arm and then found Laporta in the back of the end zone for a 2-yard touchdown. Incredibly important score there. Imagine you don't get that touchdown. You're only up 14-10. The Rams have the ball. To that point, not stopping the Rams offense. Just not. Instead, they go up 21-10. And then the 4th and 5 that the Rams converted on their 3rd possession in the second quarter, that one really disappointed me from the standpoint of the Lions' defensive awareness. It's 4th and 5, and they have the ball on the Lions' 40-yard line, so just past midfield. I kind of referenced it earlier. And Kupp goes in motion from right to left. There's an X receiver over there, one receiver. So you're away from the nickel defender at that point. And it's a shielded release, so the timing of the snap is such. It's neither snapped too late nor too early. It's snapped at a precise moment to give Kupp a free release, to protect his release out into the flats. And he ends up catching it for, I think, what ended up being an 8-yard gain, but I could be wrong. Atwell scores on the very next play, a 38-yard touchdown. I thought that was a moment that the Lions just did not take advantage of defensively, along with the 3rd and 1 to Nakua. Perhaps you're saying, well, Coach, they're going to convert that 3rd and 1 if Sutton doesn't play it that way. That's true, but I would advocate for not jumping a route like that and giving up a 50-yard touchdown, which is what he did. The Lions' next possession was crucial. It would be their 4th in the second quarter. I kind of already talked about it. The defenses were not able to get a stop. The only person who got a stop in the first half was the refs because they forced that punt. Or forced that call, I should say, on the Lions, where it really should have been offsides on the Rams. At the first half marker or break, here's what I've got stats wise. The Lions had ran 33 plays on offense. They had outgained the Rams 248 to 208. Still great numbers for the Rams offense, obviously. But check this out. The Lions offense on 33 snaps had 18 first downs. Obscene numbers. And there's a lot of credit given to Sean McVay, rightfully so. He's a great offensive mind, and they're very extremely difficult to stop. The Ravens had trouble stopping the Rams in Baltimore, clearly. Were able to squeeze out a 37-31 overtime win. But that 11 personnel run game is the Ravens' weakness. It is not the Lions' weakness. To absolve the head coach of any blame in a playoff situation where your defense is shredded like that, I find it interesting. There's a lot of head coaches that get targeted or pointed at for certain deficiencies, and Sean McVay seems to be absolved of some of these things where if you gave up 18 first downs on 33 offensive snaps in any half in the NFL, I feel like it will be a story. It's not in his case for whatever reason. At that point, through 30 minutes, both teams, the Lions were averaging 7.5 yards per play, and the Rams 8.7 yards per play. Pretty unbelievable. When the Rams are getting the ball to start in the third quarter, it seems ominous. Nonetheless, the Detroit defense is able to get a stop. Demarcus Robinson on another in cut gets 14 yards to open the half, and then got to give Detroit credit. A return motion by Nakua, and Kupp is targeted left side, and I thought Hutchinson forced the incompletion because Kupp is wide open. Blown coverage by the Lions' right side corner and safety, and Kupp is wide open up the left sideline. If Hutchinson doesn't get that pressure, probably a huge play. 2nd and 10, another pump fake by Stafford, so something must have been different coverage-wise. And then he got away from Hutchinson in one of those situations where Hutchinson got a pressure, and then I think gets credit for the sack, creating a 3rd and 11. And ball is nearly intercepted by Kirby Joseph. It's thrown up to Demarcus Robinson. Really could have been a game-changing moment. Thrown down the field. It almost looked like one of those situations where Stafford's kind of throwing it and hoping that he gets a DPI, because it didn't look like to me when he decided to throw that Demarcus Robinson was open. That stop there, and then the one that gets the Lions the ball back with 4 minutes left, really is the difference in the game, along with holding them to field goals twice in the second half and once in the first half. I don't know about you. There was a moment after watching the first half where I thought it looks like the Lions are going to need 31 to 35 points to win this. Have to give credit to Aaron Glenn and the defensive guys, who I don't think played well tonight, by and large. For them to get those 2 stops in the second half and then hold the Rams offense, to 2 field goals, have to give credit where credit is due. Perhaps you don't feel the same way or have the same opinion. Everyone that's a Lions fan is surely extremely excited and giving credit to Dan Campbell for throwing the ball to St. Brown in that situation where if you throw an incompletion, you now risk giving the Rams the football back, but he plays for the win, and he's done that consistently. He did that in Dallas 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, I guess, and it didn't work out so well because of the refs. Tonight it did, and I think you have to give credit to the defensive guys, even though for the most part tonight they got shredded, just like the Rams defense did. Because of some game situations that the teams only ended up combining for 47 points. I thought game flow-wise, this looked like a 35-31 game to me, or maybe 38-35, particularly at halftime. You guys let me know what you think of, first of all, the first home playoff win in a long time for Detroit. Second of all, the way that they were able to do it over Matt Stafford and Sean McVay, the team that they partnered with in a big trade. that really bolster the roster, regardless of what people think about comparing Matt Stafford to Jared Goff. And I really kind of get bored with quarterback comparison conversations. That trade bolstered Detroit's roster. There's guys out there making an impact on both sides of the football for Detroit who were drafted because of that trade. So you have to give credit for the Lions coaching staff, to the Lions coaching staff, front office for getting guys in the coaching staff, for developing them and creating this culture, creating this mentality where no matter the situation, they feel like they can go in there and make a play. And if they have to win 35-31, so be it. 24-23, so be it. It's a dangerous football team. I absolutely believe that the Lions are capable of beating anyone, remaining in the playoffs if they play turnover-free football like they did tonight, number one. And number two, if they're able to get enough stops defensively to give their offense a chance to win the football game. I thought that they needed 4 or 5 stops in a 9-possession game. This one only ended up being an 8-possession game, so really, really weird dynamic. And the Rams scored 2 touchdowns, obviously, and had 3 field goals, so 5 scores in 8 possessions. I would have thought that you needed to hold them to less, but the red zone defense is where the difference was, along with those 2 stops in the second half. Man, I appreciate you guys' time. Let me know what you think of the video in the comments section. I'm sure if you're a Lions fan, you're excited. This video is probably coming out a little bit too late for most people to check it out. If you think other Lions fans would enjoy this content, this reaction video where I try to present you some data and run down some of the important drives, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media so other Lions fans can enjoy it as well.